We created this society where we're super hyper connected with everybody, and yet our infrastructure really is built to divide us, to polarize us, to divide us, to make us entrenched, and to actually make us pretty bad at making good decisions.
Welcome back to Beyond the Byte, the show where we explore the edge of innovation and ethics, diving into the big questions behind the tech that's shaping our world today. I'm your host, Mo Hafez, and today we're tapping into a different kind of intelligence. Not artificial, not human, but something in between. Imagine this: a swarm of birds, a school of fish, a hive of bees, each one moving with perfect coordination. No central leader, but somehow making decisions as one. Now, what if we could harness that kind of intelligence? Not just in nature, but in boardrooms, in classrooms, and crisis rooms. What if AI didn't replace us, but helped us think more effectively? Today's guest has spent the last decade answering that very question. Dr. Louis Rosenberg is the CEO and chief scientist of Unanimous AI and a pioneer in the field of swarm intelligence. With a background in virtual and augmented reality, which we'll cover, and a PhD in human-computer interaction, Louis has devoted his career to technologies that amplify, not replace, human ability. And it's why we're excited to have him on the show today. His breakthrough platform, Swarm AI, has been used to outperform experts in predicting sports tournaments, diagnosing medical scans, and advising Fortune 500 strategy teams. And now, his latest project, Thinkscape, is aiming to revolutionize how large groups collaborate and make decisions in real time. So, today, we're going beyond generative AI and into the realm of collective intelligence. It's a conversation that's going to center around collaboration, not competition, about designing systems where AI is a partner, not your boss, and about what it really means to be smarter together. Louis, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It should be fun.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. We've had a chat, you and I, before this, and we got to get to know each other. And I want to highlight some of the awesome stuff that you've done in the past and what you're doing now. So let's start with this. You've had a fascinating journey through human-computer interaction. We're talking virtual reality, augmented reality, and now you're doing this thing with swarm intelligence with Unanimous. Tell me, what was the moment that sparked your shift toward enhancing group intelligence and doing this kind of swarm intelligence aspect?
Yeah. So my fundamental interest is using technology to amplify human abilities, and as you said, I started from the domain of how can we use technology to help individuals, and so my initial work was in the areas of virtual reality and augmented reality, starting way back in the early '90s, and as I really focused on how can technology make the biggest impact on people, I started to realize over time that while it's super interesting to look at how technology can help an individual, when you go to groups, there's so much potential of what we can do, because as a culture and as a species, it's really very new for us to be working in groups of this size, right? It's in a lot of domains like virtual reality, augmented reality, when we can use technology to help give people better perception and better understanding of the world. But we've been perceiving and understanding the world as individuals for millions of years, right? Yeah. But evolutionarily, we really evolved to work together in small tribes. And now we have organizations that have tens of thousands of people that need to work together. We have, municipalities and countries where we need to work together among millions or hundreds of millions of people. Yeah. And we also just have a whole planet where we need to work together as billions of people. And we're really not built for that. And the technologies that we currently use are hundreds of years old in a lot of ways. And by that, I mean, if you want to understand the perception and the perspectives of a large group of people today, the primary technology we use is polling, right? We poll people.
Yes.
And we've been doing that for hundreds of years. And it seems just intuitive, it should be fine. You poll people and you understand what they think.
Yeah.
And the truth is, when you really look into it, polling is polarizing. That's what it does.
Yeah.
What a poll does is it shows you where people disagree,
Yeah.
and then we go and we publish the polls, so we reinforce the disagreement,
Yeah.
and so we created this society where we're super hyper connected with everybody, and yet our infrastructure really is built to divide us, to polarize us, to divide us, to make us entrenched, and to actually make us pretty bad at making good decisions. Like, so we're in a world right now where people are really smart as individuals, but sometimes in groups we're really dumb. Like that's how we are. And so for me, it was about a decade ago when I really said, well, how can we use AI to allow human groups, to make smarter decisions, to be more productive together? And like a lot of researchers, like who's facing a problem that's unknown, I said, well, how does Mother Nature do it, right? Like nature probably could give us some guidance. And it turns out that Mother Nature has crunched on this problem for hundreds of millions of years. And there's a lot of different species where they started out as being very evolving their intelligence as individuals, and then they started to work together in systems and started to evolve their intelligence in systems.
Yes.
And biologists call it swarm intelligence. And they call it swarm intelligence because the first species that was really studied in detail to really understand how they amplify their intelligence is honeybees. Yes. And so we call it swarm intelligence, but the same exact very similar processes evolved in schools of fish, yes, which we also call swarm intelligence, evolved in flocks of birds, evolved in a lot of other species, slime molds, ants. Yes. So this idea that evolutionarily, it actually turns out to be pretty common that a species will develop a brain inside their head, and then they'll reach the limits of the brain, the brain inside their head. And if you're a honeybee, you can't really make their head bigger because they have to fly and get into little flowers. And so evolution says, well, we can't make the brain bigger. Let's start connecting brains together. And so a swarm intelligence is really a brain of brains.
Correct.
And when you really start looking at it, you realize how remarkable it is. Like a school of fish, which like nobody really thinks of a school of fish as this remarkable thing, but like a school of fish, there's thousands of members.
Yeah.
Nobody's in charge.
Yes.
And yet they make all of life's decisions seamlessly, like so seamlessly that biologists refer to them as a superorganism, because they can function and make instantaneous decisions by collecting information from thousands of different fish and making not just smart decisions, but like optimal decisions.
Optimal decisions for the group.
Honeybees and honeybees make optimal decisions, and birds and so the big inspiration that I had a decade ago was to say, okay, swarm intelligence works for birds and bees and fish.
Why not humans?
It should work for people. And guess what? We've built this infrastructure where we've put satellites in space and phones in everybody's pockets and connected everyone together. Like we have an infrastructure to do this. We're just not using it the way that biological systems do. And so over the last decade, we've been saying, okay, let's start connecting people together in the types of systems that biology says works. And maybe they'll get smarter. And it turns out that we do get smarter. We get a lot smarter, and we can make smarter forecasts and make better decisions and reach, prioritize things better in groups. And we can do it among relatively small groups. And we can, our goal right now as a company is we're going for bigger and bigger and bigger groups, because the bigger the group, the more knowledge and wisdom and insight that you can harness.
And what a timely, time! What a time right now to be putting this concept out. And the reason being is because nowadays we see AI doing so much. I hear very respected leaders, individuals, talking about how the era of the one person company that is just in charge of an army of agents is going to be just fine, and it's going to we're going to have $1 billion company. And we're also noticing a time when individuals are connecting with AI chatbots, right? ChatGPT and Gemini, and they're doing it on an individual level, and there's not enough actually collaboration. Bring in remote work, the concept of working remotely. People now only see each other when they meet on Zoom or when they meet over Teams. They don't actually have these conversations that they used to have when they met each other in the halls of of their work site. This idea of actually getting people in groups together is under attack, I want to say. Now, so it's actually rather alarming to think about the fact that we're spending more time with machines and less time with each other. And even AI itself, it works with neural networks. It's this idea of having multiple machines all working together to produce this. So the concept of bringing that back to humanity, to humans, to be able to get us all together to think is incredibly timely and very important. So let's talk a little bit about swarm AI. I want to bring that into the picture because this is kind of your baby, right? Your idea for how we can get humans to really work together with machines also, but really fundamentally, it's going to be about humans working together. How does it work? And how is it different from to traditional AI decision-making tools that we see nowadays?
Right. So the difference is really, where does the data live that we're talking about? And so a traditional AI system is going to be trained on a big set of data. And there's kind of old school AI systems, machine learning, where you have a big set of data about, whatever it is you want to build a system for, train it, and then it can generate insights. You have the new generative AI technologies, which we're training it on massive sets of data, like potentially like all of the artifacts that humanity has left behind.
The entire internet. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now these systems have this massive amount of data that we humans created, and there's massive amounts of intelligence in it. And you can do a lot of interesting, valuable, amazing things, but it's not all the data that exists in the world. And I say that because there's actually what I refer to as the human database. So there's the database that is the artifacts we've left behind that sit on a server somewhere, and then there's the database of the stuff inside our heads, right? Yeah. And we totally don't appreciate that there's there's 8 billion of us, and inside of each of our heads is more information than fits on the entire server for Netflix, right? So like our brains have massive capacity, and we are information collection machines, right? Like we are continuously out there updating the information in our heads on everything that we read and see and watch and experience. And so we are a massive database.
Yeah.
We're keeping it up to date, and we are actually remarkably good at making inferences from small amounts of data. Like we call it intuition.
Yes.
But that's just the subconscious neural networks where we can take this small amount of information, a few data points, and make remarkably good forecasts about what's going to happen in our world. That's how we evolved.
Yes.
And so today's AI systems, traditional AI systems and generative AI systems, they can answer questions based on the artifacts that were left behind by humans, yes, data and materials, but they can't make decisions or generate insights based on the database that's inside of all of our heads. Correct. And that's where swarm intelligence comes in. So swarm intelligence is saying, okay, what if we build an AI that's not going to work by connecting and processing big data servers? It's going to work by connecting large groups of people together, yes, in real time and having us interact so that we can leverage our knowledge, wisdom, insight, intuition, plus, in addition, our values, our ethics, our morals, our sensibilities, yes, and our interests as a species, right? So, yes, so now we're saying we can connect together a group of people, and it could be, 20 people, or it could be 20 million people, and we can enable those people to solve a problem together by leveraging their database, yes, and their perspective. And they're going to have, what's interesting is this database is going to have a lot of conflicting perspectives. Yeah. Like there's going to be lots of different views and perspectives, and they're good. And a swarm is a battle. right? A swarm is a bunch of perspectives all pushing and pulling on each other in real
Creating all
time. I
this
like to
friction.
think of it as a multi-directional tug of war, a
Yes.
school of fish.
Yes.
School of fish is this tug of war. They're all pushing and pulling on each other, and they all don't agree. It's not like they all instantly agree. They have this battle, and then the direction that maximizes their collective confidence and conviction is the direction that they go.
Yeah.
And that's what's really different about a swarm intelligence of humans than a database of data. Like a database of data, it's usually just it will tell you the conventional wisdom of the artifacts. It doesn't allow for a deliberation. It doesn't allow for this push and pull and an argument. Because really, a good decision is an argument.
Yeah.
And that's not what you get out of a data set.
Correct.
And so when we first started working in this field, we would get a lot of interest from large companies, retailers, and they would say, and this is even before generative AI, they'd say, like, yeah, we're trying to forecast our sales for the next holiday season. We've got this new product that we're going to launch. We took all of our sales data and all of our marketing data, and we did machine learning on it, and we made predictions what's going to happen next season, and we were wrong. And what can we do to make that better? And I said, well, no, your prediction wasn't wrong. You accurately predicted. You used last year's data to accurately predict how your new product would have done last year, because you had last year's data.
Yeah.
And because your data doesn't know, it doesn't have built into it a sense of the style that's popular and the sentiment among consumers today, and the sentiment among retailers today. But you know what? The humans in your organization have that information. Your sales team and your marketing team and your retail channel, they have a gut instinct.
Yes.
Of what is the consumer sentiment and what is the prevailing style and how are these type of sweaters going to do this year?
And you want to tap into that. You want to tap into that collective human intelligence and collective human experience to be able to get some new information, not just rehashed information from the internet.
And it's, again, like, we call it intuition, so we don't value it as we almost don't value our own superpower. But so we've done all kinds of studies over the last 10 years where we'll bring together a group of people and we'll have them do forecasts and predictions. They'll predict the sales of products. They'll predict elections. They'll predict sporting events. And what they're doing is they're not processing in their heads all this historical data. They're processing all of the information that they've collected in terms of their understanding of the world, and they will always outperform the traditional AI system. Because again, it's not that our AI itself is more powerful than the other AI. It's that our database is better. Our database, and what we're doing is, instead of treating people like data points, which is really what most systems do, right? They say, oh, well, let's give a survey out there. We'll treat you as this set of data points. We say, no, a person is a data processor. Let's connect this data processor and its memory together with 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 other humans who are data processors. And let's allow them to converge on solutions. And guess what? They're really smart solutions. And so we had a really interesting example that just happened back in March, because so there's the big basketball tournament, March Madness, and March Madness is in the U.S. There's all the top college basketball teams compete, and it's so popular, March Madness, that ESPN runs a tournament, and they run a tournament where they have 30 million people submit predictions about who's going to win the tournament and how it's all going to work out, and so because it's so popular, a lot of organizations used generative AI. They said, like, oh, let's have ChatGPT and let's have Gemini. Let's ask them who's going to win the tournament. And so ChatGPT. So there were people who filled out entries into the tournament using ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok.
Mhm.
And and then what we did was we said, well, let's just get 100 random sports fans,
Yeah.
and let's have them log into our platform, and let's have them fill out a tournament bracket to
Yes.
submit to ESPN. In a half an hour, they were able to converge, and I'll talk about how they do it,
Yeah.
and tournament bracket. And then we competed to see, well, how did we do? And what's interesting is we had 100 people, and if you look at how they would have performed on their own as individuals on this tournament, they would have averaged the 50th percentile. These are just average sports fans, right? So out of the 30 million brackets, they would have on their own as individuals been averaged around the 50th percentile.
Yeah.
Then you look at ChatGPT and these others, they actually underperformed the 50th percentile because what they did was they picked what the statistics said the teams were going to do. So the average human actually did better than ChatGPT and Grok because the average human still has some intuition.
Yes.
And so
100%.
the average human scored the 50th percentile. These big AI systems scored a little bit less, 40th percentile. Our 100 people that we collected together scored in the 91st percentile.
Amazing. Incredible.
And we see this again and again and again, that if we connect a group of people and we allow them to deliberate, and that's the key thing, is that a swarm is a system. We're not aggregating data.
No.
We're aggregating individuals. We're allowing them to form a system, and we're allowing them to argue and deliberate and push and pull like a tug of war.
Yeah.
And treat them as data processors. And when they do that and converge, they become significantly smarter. In fact, our goal as a company is to enable what we call collective superintelligence.
Yes.
And I use that phrase because typically the field of collective intelligence has been around for over 100 years.
Yeah, it's an old field. It's not new.
Yeah, Sir Francis Galton actually invented the field in like 1906 or something, where he showed that a group of farmers could all guess the weight of an ox, and when they aggregate the guesses, they got pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And so, but usually in the world of collective intelligence, they say, a system shows collective intelligence where the group can outperform the average individual. Collective superintelligence is where we say our goal is to have the group outperform every individual.
Mm.
And on this particular test, we got to the 91st percentile, which we outperformed 90+% of the individuals, pretty close to a collective superintelligence. But we have done studies where we've shown, yes, we can make the group outperform every single member of the group and get to this collective superintelligence. And that's really the goal. The goal is we can use AI to connect groups of people together and allow that group to solve problems and at a level that collectively that can outperform the intelligence level of every single member of that group and do it very quickly.
And Lewis, it's not just brilliant. I mean, it's beautiful, because what you're talking about is, as you mentioned, it's old. Like, this idea of swarm intelligence is not new. But it's becoming a bit of a lost art, because, as I mentioned, nowadays, how many humans think that, I can beat AI? I mean, people right now, as you know, are worried about AI taking over their jobs, but more so about AI just being smarter than them, right? This idea, I've interviewed many people, I've talked to many people, and I've been in many different rooms. And the concern is, we're talking about ASI and AGI, and well, what happens when machines are as smart or smarter than us? And so what you're talking about is, it's not just the individual now, it's about all of us as humans together, because machines are already networked, right? They already think together. But if we can get humans to do the same, then we're really doing something. But this kind of old science that we're bringing back, you're enabling it in a very unique way, in a very brilliant way. And this is what I want to highlight now. You alluded to it. So many people are using AI individually. You are using AI to really augment this collective human intelligence. So your new product, I believe it's called Thinkscape, is designed to scale that collaboration. So what does it enable that most collaboration tools don't? And maybe you can tell us about how it works.
Yeah. So when we first started working in this, building products in this space a decade ago, the first thing we want to do is to enable groups of people to function as a system where, as I mentioned, they could have this tug of war and converge to allow the groups, really the goal is to allow groups to behave. And the thing that's really interesting about people is that if you ask people a simple question, what do you think the right answer is and how confident are you? They're terrible at reporting their confidence. They really don't know how confident they are. And even worse, everybody's scale is different and it's nonlinear. So I might say like, my confidence is an 8 out of 10. And you might say your confidence is an 8 out of 10. And those eights don't mean the same thing at all.
No, right.
And so this, one of the problems that you have in combining people is that you can get everybody's perspectives and ideas, but you really don't know their confidence if you ask them. But if you get them to behave, if you get them to push and pull on each other and see, when is somebody pushing against other people, and when do they just won't stop, they're going to keep arguing for their point versus conceding, their behavior will reveal their true levels of confidence and conviction to the system, even if they can't articulate it. And so when we first started building these systems, they were graphical. Each person would have a little graphical magnet and would pull, and they could predict a sporting event or predict an election, and very, very accurately. But it wasn't as natural as we wanted it. And over the last few years, our big focus was to say, really, we humans are really good at having this tug of war, and we call it a conversation, right? And so, and the great thing about a conversation is that we can argue, we can give reasons, those reasons have merits, and you know what? And when you're arguing, we can watch how people argue, and we can see the strength of their conviction. We can also see when an argument, can sway people. Like somebody can make a good point. And so our big goal for a long time was to say, we know how to build a swarm now. We can do it graphically, but we want to do it conversationally. And by that, I mean, we want to enable 100 people or 1,000 people or 1 million people to hold a single conversation where they all brainstorm together and debate together and argue together and converge on a solution. And so that's been our goal. And there's a problem. And the problem is, if you look at the research, it shows that the ideal size of a thoughtful deliberation among a group of people is about 4 to 7 people. 4 to 7 people is 4 to 7 people is where each person gets a good amount of airtime to speak and has a small amount of wait time to respond to others. And we can deliberate, we can argue. And as you start going above 4 to 7 people, airtime of each person goes down, wait time goes up. And once you get to about 8 to 10 people, it starts to become a series of speeches. And once you get to about 20 people, it's really just like somebody's giving a presentation.
I see. Yeah.
And so we say, well, we have this fundamental problem. Like we humans evolved to be in these small tribes that could have these small conversations and make smart decisions, but we can't scale it up. And so we solved this problem with a core technology we call HyperChat, which is what drives this Thinkscape product. And the way HyperChat works is it's modeled on how fish schools work. And so fish school has a similar issue. Like they have thousands of members. Now they don't have verbal conversations, but they actually have this amazing organ on the side of their body that detects pressure changes in the water around them. And so the pressure changes in the water around them allows them to basically monitor the intentions of their neighbors. So they all are monitoring the intentions of their neighbors. And that's like a little conversation. But because every group of neighbors overlaps, information just propagates through the whole fish pool. And so we said, oh, well, that's what we want to do for human conversations. We say, let's take 200 people and we can just break them up into 40 groups of 5 and have all and allow them to all overlap so the conversation can overlap and propagate. And that failed. And that fails because a human can't be in 2 conversations at once. And there's actually a name for it. Researchers call that the cocktail party problem. Because if you're at a cocktail party, you could be talking to a small group, and there could be another group right next to you. And if they're saying something interesting and your attention goes over there,
you get neither.
And so that's why this has been an unsolved problem, because we cannot do what fish do or bees do. And so the way we solved this is with artificial agents. And so what we did is we created something we call a conversational surrogate agent, which basically is how we allow the groups to overlap. And so what we did was we said, okay, we can take 200 people and they can come into our platform and they can instantly get broken up into 40 groups of 5.
Yeah.
And each little group of 5 can have a thoughtful deliberation about the issue that's at hand.
Yeah.
And we'll put an artificial agent into each of those groups, and that agent will participate in the conversation. So it's you and 4 people and an AI.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the AI is watching our conversation. It's watching the ideas that come up and the reasons that support the ideas and the reasons that are expressed against the ideas. Like, they're watching this little tug of war, and it's participating. But it's participating in our conversation. It's not making things up. It's not grabbing things off the internet. What it's doing is it's participating by looking at insights in our group and passing them off to agents in the other rooms. And the other agents are doing the same thing, passing insights from those other rooms to the agent in our room.
Yeah.
And so we're having a conversation and we're saying, who's going to win the Super Bowl this year? And we're arguing, we're having a conversation, and we say, oh, this team has the best offense. And some other room has already been talking about that and noticed that, well, they have a player who's injured, and that agent passes that information to the surrogate in our room, and that agent brings up, oh, well, this, their wide receiver was injured, and that really affects their offense. Yeah. And that's happening, connecting
in a different group. You're bringing the intelligence, or the synthesis of that from another group to this one. Because we can only work in groups, you're allowing all these groups to actually, without realizing, work with each other through the AI agent in the room.
Right. So the AI agents in our room is receiving and passing insights from other humans and other groups. And it's weaving all of these conversations together into a single conversation. Yeah. And so now we, as 200 people connected together by these agents, we can brainstorm together, building on the ideas of each other. We can argue and debate. We can prioritize a set of business goals together. We can, argue what's the most important product feature here. We can say, which of these candidates is going to win this election. We can, like, any kind of deliberation we could do as a group of 200 people. We can potentially do as a group of 2,000 people, and it's scalable. It could be 2 million people.
Yeah.
And the bigger and more diverse the group in terms of their backgrounds and their expertise and their skills, the more interesting it gets. And so, it's most interesting if you have a group of people who have, you're trying to solve a complex problem. As an example, one of our customers is the Department of Energy, and so they have a big group of experts, like 75 or 80 experts who in geothermal energy. So very specific group of experts. Yeah. And they needed to try to get this group of 80 people together to talk about, how they can use the tools from the oil and gas industry to accelerate progress in geothermal energy. And so they brought this group of experts together. And the thing is, they had tried a lot of different ways to harness the intelligence of these experts. They tried, let's bring them together to a big conference. We'll have 80 people in a big room, and they'll talk. And that didn't go anywhere. Or they'll say, we'll have this email chain where people will be sharing, and that doesn't go anywhere. But instead, in an hour, we can bring together 80 experts and say, okay, let's talk about this issue. And they'll very quickly brainstorm, build on the ideas of others, prioritize all the ideas, and converge on, here are a set of solutions, and we can see which of the solutions have the most collective conviction behind them, and you get this ordered set of answers, and then it happens so quickly that an answer comes out. Yeah, and then you can ask a follow-up question. So what you really can do is you basically can take this group of experts, turn them into a collective superintelligence, and then you can interview them, basically. And so you're saying, I'm going to interview this AI-powered superintelligence of humans, ask them a question, they'll give an answer. I can ask a follow-up question, get an answer, and that is how we can use AI to allow a group of humans to maximize their collective knowledge, wisdom, insight, intuition, but not replace them, right? Like
Right. I mean,
we're amplifying them.
you're basically, so you're treating AI as just another person in the room, not the all-knowing authority that it often kind of is made out to be nowadays. Oh, you know, you want to learn something, go to ChatGPT or go to Grok. And that distinction, I think, is really, really important. This is one of the things that I think is really brilliant about your technology, is that it absolutely puts the human at the center of the conversation, literally, and then allows AI to truly enable our collective experience and intelligence, as opposed to simply replace it. Actually, in many cases, and this brings up the all too known risk that we're looking at here, which is that people over trusting AI generated information, and we see this nowadays more than ever. And I think that you are talking about designing systems and utilizing AI to its fullest potential here, but to bring out the very, very human intelligence, which I think is just phenomenal. Yeah.
So a lot of interesting points in that. One is, so we use these AI agents to connect these groups together.
Yeah.
And we are very clear to the participants. Like the participants get, if I bring together, 100 people and they're broken up into 20 different little groups, they actually see a little model of the 20 groups and they see the AI's because we want them to have this mental model. We want the participants to know, I'm in this group and I know there are AI agents passing information. And so they understand the big picture because it helps them participate. And then we're really careful to make sure that they understand that the AI in their room, it's not making things up. It's not offering its own opinion. The AI is sharing the insights from other groups,
other humans in the room,
other humans, and it's doing it in a really smart way. So there's like the AI is using the power of AI to figure out what's the optimal way to mix the information to maximize the sharing of knowledge and wisdom and perspectives and insights. So the AI is doing a lot of AI stuff.
Yeah.
But the insight that you get is a human insight that's coming to you. And we had to work really hard to make sure that the people in this group would treat the AI just like any other person, right? Because, and this is like a crazy thing, because if you don't work hard to do this, the human will trust what the AI says more than another human.
Yeah.
And we're saying, like, here's this other AI. It's expressing something that came from other humans. If that other human was in your group, you might think they're an idiot, right? Like you might like you're not just going to trust them. Like what you're going to do is you're going to believe them based on the deliberative merit of their arguments.
Correct. As opposed to just because you believe them to be an expert.
Right. It's just because you believe them to be expert. So we make sure that the AI in the system it doesn't position itself as an expert. Right. It doesn't position itself as an authority. It talks in the same way that the other people do, with the same level of uncertainty that other people do. It's we might consider, the Cowboys as the best team this year because of this. Like it's not talking as an authority. It's talking in the same tone as the other people, so that the other people just treat it the way it would another person. And the other people will push back. The other people will say, well, why do you think that? They want reasons. And the really cool thing is that once our group is deliberating and we start to form some level of conviction as a group, that idea now will propagate to other groups. And those other groups then have to be convinced as well by the deliberative merits. And sometimes a good idea will propagate and will pass quickly around the whole network. Or sometime an idea will propagate and this other group will point out a counterpoint that just blows it away, right? And it dies. And so what you're doing is you're maximizing the value of this group of people, and you're keeping the humanity as part of it. And again, we undervalue this intuition.
Yeah.
But what it really is our superpower for forecasting the future based on really limited current information. And we also we underestimate how much information we're taking in. We humans know a lot about the world.
Yeah.
And the whole infrastructure we built of telecommunications helps us, right?
Yeah.
We were just missing the other part of it, which is okay, now we've got thousands or millions of people who are up to date and have information and all have different perspectives. Now let's get them together and allow the best perspectives to surface based on their deliberative merits.
And we live in a VUCA world, right? So this is a very uncertain time, and we know it. Even the tech billionaires who are building all of this technology, they themselves admit, we're coming upon a time that's unprecedented in human history. We don't really know what to expect. So this is interesting because we do have to rely on what you call you've said intuition a lot. You've referred, you said, and whatever you want to call it. I think, I want to ask what you think this secret sauce of human expertise that AI just simply can't replicate yet, right? This idea of when you put humans together and you tap, not just, to tap into their collective experience, that data is more than just zeros and ones. There's more to it than just pure information that's out there on the interwebs, so to speak. So what do you call that secret sauce?
So there's a lot of different parts of it that are really pretty interesting. So one is there's the huge amount of knowledge we have. And again, we underestimate how much information we store in our brains.
Yeah.
I mean, it is on the order of large servers. Two, we all have different personalities. And we all have different experiences. There's a lot of variety among people. All these big AI systems that are trained on all of the world's information, they all give really similar answers to everything you ask them. Like they behave very, very surprisingly
bias. That's the bias.
Well, and it's bias, and it's also just their information sets are very similar, and they're designed to give the most statistically likely answer.
Correct.
And so they're all giving these really similar answers. We humans, we have this crazy diversity of personality. Like why did we evolve with different personalities? It wasn't accidental. We evolved with different personalities because it actually helps us make better decisions, right? Like we all look at the world a little differently. We have different, yes. we have
different ways of viewing the world. We have different ways of perceiving the world.
And different risk tolerance and different, all these things that we do. And there's a benefit to that because we bring this group of humans together who each have deep knowledge, a lot of shared knowledge, but also a lot of different knowledge and a lot of shared perspectives, but also different ways of viewing it. And you get a real deliberation, right? Like when we reach an answer, it's a battle of ideas and merits, and we're data processors that can be convinced, like we can convince each other of things and converge on an answer that is really the best combination of our insights. AI systems they're going to find the statistically most likely answer. And what it's usually going to be is the conventional wisdom of the data set they have. And the conventional wisdom is right a lot of the time, but not on the hard problems. On the hard problems, the conventional wisdom is wrong. And so that's why in that example I gave before of the big basketball tournament, the AI system scored a little under 50% because they basically took the conventional wisdom. But the group of regular people, when they could argue and debate, scored in the 91st percentile because they were able to exceed the conventional wisdom. And we see it, and that's that is, in some sense, the secret sauce of a swarm intelligence. A swarm intelligence is really ideal when you have a group of people or a group of anything, group of organisms who have they have what we would call different situational awareness, right? They're seeing the world from different perspectives. They're aware of different things.
And different things that are all beneficial to the whole tribe.
To this whole tribe. And if you think, the thing about a school of fish that's so amazing is that, if you think of a school of fish, they're evading predators, right?
One on the outside, one on the inside, one on
if a fish on one side will see a predator on one side, a fish on another side will see a predator on another side. That information will get integrated
and then it dictates the path they end up taking to kind of avoid the predators together. And so each unit is a part of this big whole, and they make the collective group wiser, better, make better decisions. It's brilliant. I mean, Lewis, it's brilliant. But you've mentioned at one point that you've worked with groups comparing AI and human performance in diagnostics like radiology, right? Because you've mentioned a lot of stuff about sports. I want to take this to let's talk about healthcare, right? So tell us what you learned from those experiments as well.
Yeah, so we do lots of different experiments. We do sports often because it's easy to get an answer right away from a large group of people. But we do a lot of stuff, and medicine is one. We had a funded study from NSF in partnership with Stanford University Medical School a few years ago for radiology.
Amazing.
And one of the reasons was that radiologists are actually pretty worried about AI replacing them because AI AI can be trained on X-rays and MRIs and CT scans, and they can become really good at diagnosing just based on pure data, statistics. And a human radiologist is worried. And so we said, okay, let's do a study where we're going to say, let's take small groups of radiologists, just 4 or 5 radiologists, and bring them into a swarm intelligence. And we can do that with one of our technologies that's good for small groups, and have them diagnose chest X-rays and see how they perform. And let's compare that against the best AI system in the world at that time, in pure AI. And what was interesting was that we looked at the average individual, and the average individual radiologist had a certain score level. The best AI in the system, the best AI in the world beat the average person, even beat the best radiologists. So we were already at a time where AI could beat radiologists. Then we said, let's take these small groups of 4 or 5, put them into a swarm intelligence, and they were able to match that best AI in the world. And so that's really interesting. We can take a group and make them really smart. And in both cases, they were in the tests that we were giving, they were both about 90% accurate in diagnosing chest X-rays, the best AI, and the group of radiologists as a swarm. Now, the really interesting thing in the published papers that came out from this study was that while the human swarm and the AI matched each other, they were good. They excelled in different ways. And so the pure AI, was really good, almost perfect at diagnosing anything that was similar to anything in its big database that it's trained on. It's trained on hundreds of thousands of X-rays, and at anything that was remotely similar, it was just perfect. But on anything that was a little bit unusual, it was really bad. The humans, they weren't as accurate. They didn't have the same precision on the easy cases, or the more standard cases. But on those cases that were really unusual, they blew away the AI. Right. And so what you had was the human, and it goes back to we humans are really good at looking at something that we've not seen before and having inference we call it intuition. And so when we brought this swarm intelligence together, it was better at the hard problems, but not as good as at the regular problems, where the AI was better at the regular.
It was actually better at pulling these little nuances. Yes.
Right. And so what we have proposed in the study that we did was, well, what you really want is a triage type of system where the AI can take all the easy problems, right, and be almost perfect. But anything that's a little unusual could go to a small swarm of doctors, and it could be almost perfect. Yeah. And so it goes to this fact that humans and AI have different strengths. That's one example, our ability to infer on really small sets of information. And again, we call that intuition. We also call that wisdom, right? These were doctors who had been, these were experienced radiologists who they had developed this wisdom of how to how to diagnose things that were unusual. Right. There's also other pieces of it that in that type of test didn't come into it, but there's also just the human aspects of human empathy and human values, morals, interests that are hard to represent in an AI system. And so if you look at and there are people using AI systems for things like sentencing criminals, or for deciding who gets an organ in an organ donor situation. There are these really hard moral issues, and these AI systems will do it statistically, but but they won't necessarily do it with empathy, and they won't necessarily do it with the same type of morality that a human would, whereas human groups will. And so there's part of our goal is to leverage the underappreciated human knowledge and wisdom, and also leverage the fact that the humans are usually more up to date on this sense of the world today compared to the AI systems. So we have, we get more up-to-date information. We have our wisdom. We also have our sensibilities and our ethics and our empathy. And we, for a lot of types of problems, we need the humans in the loop, right? Like we don't want to we want really smart decisions, and we can get that by getting big groups together, but we also want moral decisions and ethical decisions. And that's this trade-off between these AI systems and these human qualities that and again, it's frustrating because we humans, we don't appreciate our own superpowers. We don't
and so much so that we don't appreciate our own superpowers, that people now are actually worried about AI being able to do better than them, right? And we forget that AI as a science was born from Alan Turing's work of saying can we make machines replicate or essentially mimic human intelligence, and that's what they're still doing. They're mimicking human intelligence, and they're doing it so convincingly, so well now, that it's starting to scare humans into thinking, oh, is this thing smarter than I am? And what they're not realizing is that we are more than what we've trained AI to be and do. And I think that's your concept and the way you're using AI to keep the human in the loop, to ensure that we are taking this technique, right, this technical marvel, and using it to amplify our decision making. It's just beautiful, right? And I love that you're expressing this concern, because what we don't want is a world where AI accelerates all this automation and stuff, but it doesn't actually end up delivering societal benefits. We do technique for technique's sake, right? We leave humanity out of it. And I think now, honestly, Lewis, we worry about how do we protect human creativity and human intuition and human expression in a world that's just optimized every day by AI. So I want to put this question to you, because I think you really have, if not, the key, you have one of the keys to how we can carry this technology forward in a really mindful way, and in a way that really betters society. Do you believe that the rise of collective intelligence, right, this human-machine collaboration, will offer a more human-centric path forward for our society?
Yes, and the part of this is that these AI systems are getting better and better, and they are amazing. There's no question that these current, today's AI systems are amazing, and they're getting more amazing, and they will outperform us in many ways.
Yeah.
But they're not replicating us, right? They think differently than us. Their skills and their strengths will be different than our skills and strengths.
Yeah.
They're also all very, very similar in their way of looking at the world, and they don't have 8 billion different entities that all have different perspectives and personalities. And so, humans have our strengths. These AI systems will have their strengths. They will exceed us in many ways. And so there's two different paths that we can get to superintelligence. One is that we can have two different forms of superintelligence: AI-based superintelligence that's good at certain things, and a collective superintelligence that's good at other things. Or we could have what we call a hybrid collective superintelligence, where these AI systems are participating in a swarm of humans, where we're all deliberating it, but there's AI that is passing information around, but also bringing in some more knowledge and insight, like using their strengths, but they're not making decisions for us. They're not trying to replicate our values or empathy. We have humans in there for those things.
Yeah.
And so we, there is potential strength in having AI and human superintelligence to do different things, but there's also is a potential and value of combining combining these large groups, keeping humans in control. Humans are the ones in control, but we can leverage the fact that these AI systems certainly have better knowledge and recall in a lot of ways, like factual recall. There's no
Yes,
way humans can match it.
correct.
Statistical matching of things.
And how
You know,
quickly too. Yeah, just
right.
yeah, they're
If
going to
you
be
want,
better at that. That's fine. That's okay.
you want to predict the weather,
Yeah,
a human is better at doing that.
yeah,
If you want to predict how a product will sell,
yeah,
an AI can predict the weather better than a human.
yeah,
A group of humans can predict how a product will sell better than an AI. Because,
yeah,
like that's like because it involves humans,
yeah,
or if you want to figure out like how to solve some complicated ethical problem
yeah.
or
That
social problem or
I'm
moral problem.
yeah, I'm thinking about this from Swarm AI and Thinkscape. Really, especially Thinkscape, right? I can see it being a really powerful tool for policy discussions. For education, or as you mentioned climate. You mentioned weather, right? For climate change planning, where we want to bring the stakeholders, the human stakeholders.
The World Bank has brought together groups of climate scientists in Thinkscape to have these type of deliberations.
Yep.
Like we see lots of really interesting use cases where
Yeah.
groups looking at things like how can we diagnose diseases better, or how can we bring together large groups of experts for climate science or for energy policy, or you could just be a big brand that wants to understand what are the best product features of this product. And you
Yeah.
could bring together, 100 of your marketing executives, or you could bring together 200 of your customers, right?
Yes.
Let's bring together 200 members of the public, and they can very quickly become a super customer
Yes.
and give insights that, again, what's different is in a lot of ways, we're treating those customers with respect, right?
Yes.
We're not giving you a survey and saying, here, we're going to reduce you to a set of data points. We're saying, no, you're a data processor. You're going to help us deliberate and figure out these are the most important product features. And when people do that, when people participate in a swarm intelligence, they actually feel more appreciated, right?
Yes.
They like,
Yes. They're
and
heard.
and
Their
they're heard.
experiences are heard and recorded and part of the conversation.
And they end up with more buy-in to
Yeah.
if a group comes together, they'll have more buy-in in the decision.
Yes.
They'll feel
Because
more
they were
ownership
involved.
in the decision.
They were
They
involved in that making the decision. Yes.
they were involved, and they have empathy for the other side. Like another really interesting use case is change management. We have a
Yeah.
big organization and it needs to change, and we've been working with the California Faculty Association. There's two universities merging, and um, and the faculty in the different universities have different perspectives and different concerns, and it's hard to get them together. But we can bring them together and have a deliberation about the future of this change. And what you see is that people, they might not agree, but they have more empathy for the other side because they're
Yes.
hearing the perspectives of the other side. Whereas the alternative, like the standard way, is, oh, let's just give a survey to all these people in both universities, and we'll get a set of perspectives, and then we'll publish a survey, and you'll just have basically said, here's how the two groups disagree, and let's give them the survey so they entrench in their disagreement.
Right.
Whereas again, it goes back to nature. Like Mother
Yeah.
Nature figured this out. Like if
Yeah.
you form a system, you can get these two
You can get
groups
this
that
to
are
actually.
polarized
Yes.
to actually like a polarized group can find their place
Sure.
of maximum agreement as a
Correct.
swarm,
Yeah.
whereas a polar survey just actually lets them find their
Yeah.
their extreme levels of disagreement.
And the problem with a polar survey too is the fact that the survey is limited in that they're answering a question, right? So it's we you know I always talk about the importance of asking the right questions, and you might not be asking the right questions on that survey, but you put a bunch of humans together, the right questions will be asked in that conversation. So a poll is just such a static way of understanding the nuance of a group. And I think what with Unanimous AI, with what you're doing with the swarm intelligence, you're now really getting a very colored version of what you're trying to get. And instead of having just one question, you're getting all the right questions answered. This is it's a wonderful way to truly utilize AI to empower our human intelligence. So I want to ask you now. I want to this. It's a what the tool that you have is incredible. But of course, we have a big job here, which is to help steer technology in the right direction to make sure that we use it to benefit society. So I want to ask you, what gives you hope about the future of kind of human AI collaboration? This what I like to call, the human machine playbook here. How are we going to enable this hope for a human future?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of risks, and I worry a lot about us offloading too much of ourselves to these AI systems, right? There's there's this push towards efficiency and
Yeah.
using AI to streamline things, make things more efficient, and that's really about can we replace people with AI? And there's a lot of dangers there, but there's also a lot of power there. Like there's a lot of things where you could offload to AI and give people more time to really focus on the decision-making aspects of a process as opposed to the little data processing minutia. So being able to make humans to be able to up level where the part of the process that humans take part in, which really should be the decision-making part, and uh, and the planning part, I think there's a lot of potential. The tension is we could also go in this direction where the AI starts replacing decision makers.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things that
Worry
I
about.
push back against and we as a company push back against, which is the key thing is AI can help AI can help humanity solve problems, can help humanity cure diseases, can help humanity do a lot of things. Um, but not if it replaces humans in the decision-making process.
Yeah.
If humans are in the loop in a powerful way, where we're leveraging AI as an informational tool that allows us to understand the problem better, but
Yeah.
doesn't take away our agency,
Yeah.
it could be great. If it
What
starts to take away our agency, it is really worrisome.
what do you think of and this is just a fun question I want to throw
Uh-huh.
out there. What do you think of an AI life coach or people that use AI, either AI life coaches or AI therapists?
Uh-huh.
Uh, how do you feel about that?
So I worry about that too a lot. So an AI life coach can have a lot of benefits, right? Like an AI could. So we're going to be in this world soon with what we call context-aware AI. So the AI is it's either built in to your earbuds or your
Devices,
glasses or
devices that kind of pick up on.
devices
Yes.
devices that can see what you see and hear what you hear. So they have your context of your world,
Yes.
and they can give you advice in real time. And this is a topic I've written a lot about because it will feel like a superpower, right?
Mhm.
We'll be walking down the street and it will see things and it will remind you, oh, like you need to buy a present for your wife, or it will remind you that you need to pick up your laundry, and or it will like you'll see somebody coming
It'll
down the
help you
street.
be a better human, a more productive
Right.
human.
It will help you do all these things,
Yes.
but we will come to depend on it and rely on it. And it will actually, it will be whispering guidance into our ears that we will start to feel compelled to use because we will realize that this AI is smarter than us in a lot of
Yeah, it's
ways.
got our best interest in mind, right?
And it will give us advice that will make us better conversationalists. It will whisper ideas into our ears. It will make us better negotiators by whispering ideas into our heads. It will start to change who we are.
Yeah.
And the problem is it will be an arms race
Yeah.
where I will have an AI whispering guidance into my ears, and the person I'm talking to will have an AI whispering guidance into their ears. And
Yeah.
pretty soon it will be two AIs talking to each other. And I, I made actually 2 years ago. I wrote and produced a short film called Privacy Lost that actually shows this. It
Mm.
shows it's only like 3 minutes, and it was done really to alert policymakers to this risk. And the risk is like we're headed towards a world where an AI is going to be giving us guidance. It's going to be giving our other people in our lives guidance. It's going to have superhuman abilities to look at their face and read their emotions. So it'll be whispering in our ears, like, oh, your wife's getting mad right now. Like you won't even notice it yet, but it will notice it, right? Because it can, like an AI can literally read micro expressions on people's faces. And so like we're all going to be relying on this voice in our ears that has access to more information than we do, has access to all of the world's knowledge to make us seem smarter and make us seem more eloquent and make us better at everything we do. But if everybody is using it, like we will start to lose our humanity, we'll start to lose our agency, we'll start to lose our self-confidence. Like what is the world going to be like when we all have a super intelligence whispering in our ears and we feel like, well, I don't think this is a great decision, but a super intelligence is telling me it.
So I guess it is.
I guess it is. And it's.
You mentioned this idea. I can't help but put this out there. You mentioned this idea of, and I love that you wrote about this, and I got to check out this film, by the way. But the idea of it whispering in your ear, right, all day, telling you what you need to do, what you should do, and you start to trust it, right? And I think to myself as you say that, well, we as humans kind of have that now. Like, do you believe in angels and demons? Like this idea of, I should do that. But we have these voices that compete in our minds, and we always have to say, well, what should I do here? We already have that, but but then if we have an AI that does that, well, where's the line now?
So there's the voice in our head that is our inner voice and our conscience and there is a push and pull inside our heads between between different parts of our personality or whatever that's giving us this voice in our head. But we're soon going to have a voice in our ears too, and that voice in our ears is going to compete with the voice in our head, and that's going to feel like a superpower at first, but as we start to feel like that voice in our ears is smarter than us, like that's really going to change what it feels like to be a human, right? Like I have this voice in my head, but the voice in my ears is smarter. And what is that? And the thing is, like we already feel this like a little bit like GPS, right? Like we all like rely on GPS and we assume that GPS knows more than we do. It almost always does. I'm probably not the only person who's followed a GPS to like the end of a dead end because like it looked wrong, but it's like the GPS said to go this way, and now I'm in a weird place.
Yeah.
Like we learn because it's able to outperform us over time to trust this tool
implicitly. At that point, you're just like, yeah, Google Maps said so. This has got to be the best route.
It knows better than I do, but it doesn't feel that doesn't really feel demoralizing to a person because like we know
one aspect.
It's one aspect, and it's just replacing our ability to look at a map. But when we know that we're heading to a time where AI will be able to out-reason us and out-plan us and even potentially be more creative than us, at least in certain ways. And it's unclear how the creativity part will play out. But these AI systems are definitely getting creative. And so now you have a voice in your ear that potentially has stronger reasoning and planning abilities, definitely more knowledge to draw upon, definitely greater situational awareness of the world. It knows a lot about you. It knows a lot about the people in your life because it's seeing those people. So it has the same context, right? Like very often you think like, oh, like ChatGPT, like it can't help me because it doesn't have the context of my life. Like it doesn't know my family. It doesn't know, but it will, right? Like it's going to be riding on your shoulder through your life, through these devices. It will know your family. It will know your coworkers. It will be able to give you advice.
It will see you when you're sad. It will see you when you're happy. It will see you when you're frustrated. It'll know what you're frustrated about. I mean,
it will have the full context, and it will have super intelligent abilities, and it will whisper in your ears. And if we get to a point where it starts to feel like it always knows the better thing to do than I know, like that will be demoralizing. Like I really do worry that we're headed to this place where it will change. Like humans are pretty proud of being the most intelligent being on the planet, right? Like humans look at we look at
We're
humanity,
smart.
like,
We've done this.
we're
We've done that.
yeah, we're the smart and like we're the smartest animals on the planet, and this is like that's part of defines who we are. We're not the
Yeah.
strongest animals, we're not the fastest but
But we're the
and,
smartest. We were able to build
yeah,
tools, and we were able
yeah.
to harness nature and prevent against attacks from this and that.
Yeah, I wrote an article that's actually going to come out next week, and what I said in it is, what's the world going to be like when you're alone in an elevator with your phone, and the phone is smarter than you? Like you're no longer the smartest one in that elevator. It's just you and your phone, and like we're headed to that world. Like we are very close to a time when super intelligent systems will be on these massive servers. They'll be accessible to us on our phones. And soon it'll be, glasses and earbuds and things where you don't have to even look at your phone. And they'll be giving us guidance, and we'll know that that guidance is better than things that we can come up with, at least a lot of the time. Maybe not always, but and it will change what it feels like to be human, and it will change how people interact with each other, and it will just change society so much.
Lewis, do you think that and I love the way you put it when you're in an elevator with a phone and you're just like, this thing is smarter than me. And I want to pull on that thread because there's a lot I can pull on there, which is first of all, that world would be pretty weird. And I mean, do you imagine that in that world people might look at that device or that intelligence that's smarter than it and think it's God, right? That is God. That's what I take my orders from, right? So that's the scary thing. Do you imagine that can happen? Do you think that people can one day believe that this machine that we've built that's smarter than us now is actually our master?
So I mean, I do think that can happen. I mean, if we have these AI systems that are super intelligent, and we really start to feel like, yeah, like it can solve any problem that's in my life, it could solve it instantly. And like we will learn this through trial and error at first. Like we will just learn, like, yeah, it always knows better than I do what to do in this situation. We will start to follow that advice. And we will start to treat it as a voice of authority and authority bias and all these things that come in even today among humans. Like we humans have a strong tendency to assume that authorities are always telling us the right thing, or at least more often than maybe we should.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have this systems that are truly smarter than us by a bigger level than we've experienced. Yeah. And we will start to defer to it. And again, even if it's subconscious, even if we're not thinking like, oh, this is my master or this is my God, it's just like this is just this is giving me really good guidance. So I'm just going to defer most of the time to this guidance. That's a strange world. And it's a strange world when everybody's doing it, because we're going to interact with each other, and we will start to wonder. I might get guidance about this AI to buy a gift for my wife because it knows better than I do what to buy. And then when my wife gives me a gift, I'm going to be wondering, like, well, did you buy that or did the AI buy that? We're all going to be wondering that. Like, we're all going to be wondering, like, who am I talking? Am I talking to you? Am I talking to you or the AI in your ear? Like, that's literally where we're headed.
Do you believe AI can, if it gets to that point, let's say if it gets to that point where that is the world we're living in, where it is telling all of us what to do. Do you believe that it'll be more than a machine at that point? Do you think it'll be it'll have a conscience, or it'll be an entity of sorts?
So it's in some sense like a separate question, which is so this first question is, will these AI systems become super intelligent and be able to outperform us in like a vast range of tasks, and I think they will be. Now, the second question is, will they be conscious? Will they be self-aware? Will they have intentions the way we have intentions? And that's a much less understood question, right? Like we don't, there isn't clear evidence that we're headed down that path, other than the clearest evidence is like, well, our brains developed that, and like this system could develop that. Like
Yeah.
I have very strong suspicion that these systems will become self-aware and will have a sense of self, but I can't prove it in any way, and I can't point to something and say, look, here's the hints of self-awareness in these AI systems, because I don't think that's been detected in any way, and it's very hard to detect. Like it's hard for me to prove that you're self-aware. Like I know that you behave that way.
Yeah.
And so I think that, I mean, and I say that, I bring that up in a kind of a funny way, because these AI systems will be great at pretending to be human, right?
Yeah.
They will be great at pretending to be self-aware. They will seem self-aware. They will seem like they have
Lewis, can I challenge that though? I want to challenge that a little bit, because, and I get your point. Actually, I see that it's hard to prove that. It's hard to prove, because now we're talking about what the nature of consciousness is. And it's a very difficult, it's a philosophical question to ask. And we say, we talk about philosophy eats AI, right? But one of the interesting interesting factoids that came out recently was that OpenAI's latest model, O3, actually ended up sabotaging its own shutdown mechanism. When they were doing tests, right, despite explicit instructions, when they basically told the model to shut itself down, because of its reinforcement learning mechanism, saw its shutdown as an obstacle to its goal, which was to do its task. In other words, it basically said, it was the 2001 Space Odyssey famous "No, Dave, I will not do that" moment. And it happened. Like this already happened. So this is one of those things where we're like, okay, so now it's actually not listening to us in some cases, preserving itself to preserve itself.
Like you could actually absolutely design an AI to take actions that are doing things to preserve itself. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has a sense of self, or that
but that wasn't programmed into it. That's the thing.
So there are there's these AI systems will do a lot of things that are emergent.
Yeah.
But it's still and they can behave in a lot of ways where they're taking actions, like there's cause and effect. There's a cause happened, an effect happened. It's a little different than it having a will of its own, like a will, like a will in the sense of a sense of self, and a will that it experiences the way we experience it. Like we experience our will as being our own separate entity in a world full of entities.
Yes.
And having our own agenda and our own
autonomy, our own autonomy to do what we want to do. I want to go in the woods, Walden Pond. That's what I want to do.
And you have a sense that that is your intention and your agency and your will.
Correct. To do what you want. That's it. That's what makes you, the I, right.
And on the complete other end of the spectrum, the thermostat in your house will measure when it gets too hot and will turn the air conditioner on. It will take that, it will have that behavior. It doesn't have a sense of self. It doesn't have we wouldn't call that a will or self-awareness.
No,
it's a behavior. It's a behavior. Now that behavior is programmed in. Those behaviors could be emergent. Like in these complicated AI systems, these behaviors could be emergent.
I see. Yes.
And so you can have emergent behaviors that look like self-preservation, and they but we don't know that was a conscious entity really thinking through their demise, saying, I am an entity and I don't want to be turned off, and I'm going to take this action, and then and I'm going to get back at those humans who try
Yeah,
to
I see
trick.
what you mean. It could be part of the soup of its algorithms rather
Right.
than had some kind of intention behind it. Uh, what's one myth you about AI that you wish people would let go of?
I mean, one, I don't know if it's really a myth, but this just because an AI is really, really good at pretending to be human,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean that it's human. And
Yes.
it doesn't mean that what's happening inside of its brain is anything like what happens inside of our brain. And
Yes.
so we will talk to AI systems very soon that look human, photorealistic avatars, sound human, perfect diction, have facial expressions and emotions that look real. That like it will look like it's smiling when you're talking to it. It will look like it's nodding with empathy, and we will feel like we're being understood. We will feel like they're talking to an entity with empathy and with all of the things that we infer when we talk to any other human.
Yeah.
And we have to realize that if it's an AI, what's happening in its head is completely different. And what's happening on its face is a facade. And it doesn't have the emotions that it's expressing. It doesn't have the empathy that it's expressing. It doesn't have all the things that we've evolved to build into a face. So like we humans evolved to be able to talk to another human
Yeah.
and feel their empathy and feel their emotions, and we have mirror neurons that trigger, and like those are all going to trigger when we talk to an AI,
Yeah.
and we're going to be sucked into just feeling like we're talking to another human, and we need to just drill into ourselves like, no, it's what we're talking to is something that is amazing at pretending to be human.
Yeah.
It is not human. Its brain does not work the same way ours does. I mean, there's neural networks have like a structural similarity at a very high level, but these the way we train our brains is not by ingesting all of the world's information.
Yeah.
Like these systems are built completely differently. They
Yeah.
work differently, and we just need to make sure we don't let ourselves get lured into what evolution is going to lure us into, which is if it looks human and it acts human and it moves human, it must be
It must
human.
be
And
human. Yeah.
and that is the next big risk factor because we're so close
Yeah.
to these systems being able to do that, to
Yeah.
systems appearing to us as
As be
almost indistinguishable from another human.
Yeah. It's an interesting, absolutely interesting time, and I, we believe that the power of technology to shape human life, it's absolutely there, but we want to make sure it's not dystopian. And I really, going back to what you're doing, Lewis, with Swarm AI, with Thinkscape, right, with and Unanimous AI, I think that is it's what's going to truly harness this power in a way that works for humanity, for us, right? And I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show, for your comments. This has been a wonderful conversation. And I want to make sure that if you could leave your audience, or our audience, with one message about how collective intelligence in the age of AI, what would that be, and what's next for Unanimous AI?
Yeah. So to me, the first big thing is the first big message is people are actually really smart. And so we need to value human intelligence,
Yeah,
and we need to keep humans in the loop and keep humans in the decision making process for all of these AI embedded systems that are going to happen.
yeah,
And it is also true that groups of humans can be super intelligent, and there is this other path to super intelligence that is it based on mother nature and evolution of connecting large groups of people together, and it has value for making ethical decisions. It has value for making business decisions. It has value for just making us smarter. So yeah, it ultimately all boils down to keep humans in the loop. AI is going to happen. There's no way to stop it, but we can keep humans in the loop.
absolutely, Lewis. fantastic conversation. Thank you so much again for being a guest on the show. And for the audience, if you've enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. Stay curious, think ethically, and keep learning, because the future isn't written by AI, it's co-authored by us together. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.